Welcome along to the third programme in the 2012 season for the Celtic Speed Scottish Mini Cooper Cup. Some of the best racing that you'll see in the UK, probably some of the best racing you'll see in the world. The formula is exactly right, and the preparations taking place in the paddock, ready for 2 away day races. Our first visit away from Knockhill for the 2012 season, and it finds us down at Oulton Park in Cheshire. Kim Hollings is down in the paddock, and he caught up with the championship leader David Sleigh and his brother Tim.
Yeah, Tim and I are pretty close together in the championship. I've managed to get a bit of margin through a few bits of bad luck that Tim had at the last meeting there. We're obviously a bit of distance apart at the moment, but that can just change like so quickly. There's no real big advantage this early in the season. We've got a couple of races behind us so far, or a couple of meetings so far behind us, and it's not going to take a lot, as I say. So let's wait and see how it pans out.
Tim, you're now chasing. What's your plan?
To get in front, putting it bluntly. I mean, we've not got to be silly about things. Like my brother said, it's early on in the championship just now. We're on the just getting ready for to begin round 3 here at Oulton Park, and we just want to sort of be careful, go out there. I mean, obviously we want to sort of do well, beat each other, but more importantly beat everybody else pretty much. We just got to get heads down, not be silly with each other. But yeah, obviously my brother's the current champ. He drove fantastic last year. Showed everybody the quick way around pretty much, put it together, and he's the man to beat. And it just happens to be he's my brother, teammate, half team owner and everything as well. So I've just got to sort of dig deep, put it together. He's got a clever head on his shoulders when it comes to sort of the cars. He's been doing it a bit longer, so it'd be a great thing if I could get in front of him.
Well, yesterday was fully dry in the testing, so this was the first time wet for anyone in qualifying. So everyone sort of went out pretty nervy and sort of spread out. The field was spread out quite a bit, and I got a few quick laps towards the end, just as you feel you're building confidence. But to put it on fifth, considering I've never really been down here before, and it was wet, I'll take that. So.
This championship, more than any others, tends to find some very good drivers very early in their careers. Stephen Clark, third in the championship. He lines up today down in 5th position on the grid. Ahead of him, Tim Sleigh, David Sleigh, Kenny Brewster and Ross Wylie. Kenny McLeod 6th. Then it's Malcolm McNab and Guy Johnston. Chris Reed, Elaine Marshall, ladies pole. Fiona Wallace and Alan Walk on row 6. Then it's Murray Muir and Steve Brewster, followed by Hamish, Brandon and Lewis Grant. Kyle Reed, 17th. Alongside him is Steve Kerr. Then it's Scott McKenzie and Steph McMurdo. Alex Bruce racing at this meeting. Then Daniel Dreeland, William Smith and Graham Henderson in 24th. Mikey Falconer next, John Finlayson and Emma Bruce in 27th. So a full grid of cars. Absolutely fantastic achievement. I mean, this is an away day. We're away from the home circuit, and yet the drivers have come out in their droves. The silver with the pink stripes is David Sleigh, and David the championship leader. In terms of pole positions, this is Tim's second pole out of 3 for 2012, and David, of course, has had 1 pole. That was our May meeting at Knockhill. In terms of career poles, 3 apiece in the Scottish Mini Championship history, and these drivers both relatively new to the championship, as opposed to those who have set the records over the course of the championship's history. Ollie Mortimer, the most successful driver in the championship, now racing in the Porsche Carrera Cup, has 27 wins. Vic Covey Jr., now racing in the Air Asia Clio Cup, 23 career wins. And to put that into perspective, Dave Sleigh with 10 wins. We've had the green flag from the back of the field, and we'll talk a little bit more about where Oulton lies in the history of the championship as we go on. But the history book for the Scottish Mini Cooper Cup continues to be written, and let's see who's going to get away. Nerves will be jangling here. A lot of first-time racers at Oulton Park, and really a wet circuit, probably not what you need. Away they go. It looks like everybody getting away well. No start jumpers, but a cracking start from the outside of the front row. David Sleigh leads. It's Tim Sleigh from second. We have a little bit of a recalcitrant start from him up into third place. We'll say up. Maintaining third place off the grid is Kenny Brewster, and through Old Hall, down through the avenue into Denton's for the first time, and the left-hander at Cascades, and everybody away well on circuit. It's a great start from the whole field, Good crowd here today at Oulton Park as well. Some shenanigans going on midfield, but it's David Sleigh leading as they go down Lakeside for the first time. That's the island hairpin you can see there. They're using the longer international circuit today. Car number 15 in shot, that's Ross Wylie. Ross running 4th in the championship, just 4 points behind Steve Clark. And those two dicing for newcomer championship honours as well for first year drivers. But it's David Sleigh who gets away from his brother Tim in second position, Kenny Brewster in third place. Car number 9, Steve Clark, well, he's dropped back a little bit. He's in 8th place, so he's lost 3 places off the start. Remember, a newcomer to racing, and start's not necessarily going to be his forte. As coming up now, challenging around the outside for second position is Kenny Brewster. He's not going to have the line, I don't think, going into his lops. And Tim Sleigh hangs on to it. So it's David Sleigh first, Tim Sleigh in second place, Kenny Brewster in third. Up into 4th place is Kenny McLeod. Kenny McLeod in the Grand Prix Adventures car, racing for Chaz, and off goes Fiona Wallace from P2 in the ladies grid. Fiona Wallace, second in the ladies championship, goes off. Now, she didn't get ladies pole today. That went to Elaine Marshall, who qualified 10th, Fiona 11th, so very close. But that's going to make things a little bit easier for Elaine Marshall as the leaders go through Druids under the Paul Warwick Bridge and head up towards the end of the first lap here. Oh, and I said it was going to be easy for Elaine Marshall, but she's gone off. The Marshall Construction 21 car off at Druids on the grass, rejoins. Now, has she rejoined quicker than her championship rival Fiona Wallace? We'll have to check on the lap charts when they come through. I've got a feeling Fiona had a slightly quicker recovery, but at the end of lap 1 it's David Sleigh leading, Kenny Brewster in second position. Tim Sleigh is down into third place from pole position. He's not going to be very pleased, and this is the view from the Athena Asset Management Bank car. The Sleigh ride comes to Oulton Park, so down into Cascades, left-hander, and then we've got a bit of a straight. This is one of the overtaking opportunities. Tee yourself up outside, because the Shell Oil's corner at the end of this straight is slightly banked. We've got the left-hand curve before we go into the right-hander. Now Tim will be looking to try and get the car round on the inside line, which is pretty much the main one. You can see the slight banking we have seen in the Legends cars that are racing here this weekend, the opportunity to go around the banking. Now the Legends, of course, a little bit smaller than these minis, but there is the opportunity in traffic for the Brave to go around the outside line through the chicane. Now are going to climb up the hill, up to Hilltop. This is the highest point on the circuit, and from then on literally all downhill into the chicane at Hislops. Let's have a look and see if anyone's coming offline. Kenny McLeod coming under a bit of pressure from Ross Wylie in 5th place. So Ross Wylie, the top newcomer in qualifying, 4th position on the grid, ahead of Steve Clark in car number 9. And there is Steve Clark in the green car, about to put a little bit of pressure on Chris Reed, car number 29. Now Chris, if he stays where he is, he's going to record his best result so far. You can see a dry line emerging. It's Hamish Brandon behind them in the Panda car, but the race leaders coming up to Druids once again, and Kenny Brewster really starting to put the pressure on the race leader. Brewster with a podium in the opening race of the year, 4th place in race 2, retirement in race 3. We missed him in May, but he's back now and on the inside line. Kenny Brewster up into the lead. Brewster takes the lead, and look at Tim Sleigh. No team orders. He wants to go up the inside line as they go down into Deer Leap. Side by side, the two Sleigh brothers for second position, and Tim Sleigh in blue on the inside is trying to pass the championship leader, his brother David. Now remember, these two both racing for the championship. They might help each other out on track from time to time, but they both want to win the championship. And there is Tim Sleigh through past David. Sleigh ride number 2, but Tim goes wide. Now, has that compromised his exit speed? Yes, it has. That is a common thing that you see here. You'll see a driver tee up on Lodge Corner, the last corner on the lap, and come through on the inside, but then sometimes carry a little bit too much speed down through the avenue. That's now David Sleigh back into second position, but it's Kenny Brewster who's out front after taking 3rd and 4th in the opening 2 rounds. He's way down on championship points, but looking very good here at Oulton Park, our first away day of the season, and we've got an away day next time at Croft supporting the British touring cars. And of course last time the Celtic Speed Scottish Mini Cooper Cup supported the touring cars. Many people telling me that we stole the show there, particularly the Saturday race at Knockhill, which was great. I know the guys and girls are looking forward to going to Croft in North Yorkshire for another away day. And when you put a grid together as big as this, then you can't do anything but entertain the fans. 4th position in black and gold, the Chaz car. We're going to be hearing a little bit later on in the programme from Kenny McLeod about the great work that he does for the Children's Hospice Association of Scotland, and he also runs the Grand Prix Adventure. So if you fancy going to watch a Grand Prix, hook up with Kenny's company and he'll get you out to the top races around the world. Down behind him, Ross Wylie, another good newcomer, ex-Carter. Ross at the moment is top newcomer in this race. Championship wise, David Sleigh leads the championship from Tim Sleigh. Stephen Clark in 3rd place. Ross Wylie is 4th. Now Stephen Brewster incidentally in 5th place in the championship, but in the newcomers, Steve Clark from Ross Wylie, Malcolm McNab is in 3rd place from Lewis Grant and Chris Reed, and the ladies championship, Elaine Marshall leading by 30 points from Fiona Wallace, Emma Bruce 3rd, and then Steph McMurdo and Louise Flitton. Louise not with us this weekend. The other drivers very much having a good run, enjoying their outing here at Oulton Park. As across the line again goes the race leader Kenny Brewster. David Sleigh 2nd, Tim Sleigh in 3rd. A little bit of a gap developing now, as Kenny McLeod will be keeping a very keen eye on his mirrors. The black and gold car, somebody going wide there. That is Guy Johnston, the grey liveried car. So Guy running well. Steve Clark still trying to make progress. Lap times around here in the 2-minute bracket, we're looking at 2 minutes 9, 2 minutes 10 seconds for most of the cars. Some of the slower runners will be probably dropping away 5 or 6 seconds from that. But at the moment, this race settling down pretty nicely as we look at 29 Chris Reed in white, leading Stephen Clark in green and challenging at the moment for 7th position.
Welcome to another episode of Racing No Filter. Joining me in sunny California, Bill Wood, and down in sunny Florida, Peter Keene.
We're going to take a look at some of the products HPD has created for the 2012 Honda Civic, and specifically we're going to show you how to install an adjustable sway bar.
Until then, folks out there, you take care.
And it's still Kenny Brewster in front, David Sleigh in 2nd, Tim Sleigh 3rd, Kenny McLeod, Ross Wylie in the mix as well. And this is the battle featuring Steve Clark, who's trying to make up positions. Steve Clark looks to the inside line as they come out of his lots, through Knickerbrook, and he's through. Past the 29 car of Chris Reed, who gets hooked up with Malcolm McNab. Off onto the grass goes Steve Brewster in yellow. You can see how wet it is. We've had so much rain up here. It's a lot wetter on the grass than it is on the tarmac, and if you go off, the chances are you're going to end up in a spin, probably a retirement. That was actually a very, very good recovery there from Steve Brewster. So things relatively settled down at the moment as we look at the camera position at Lodge Corner, just to the right of shot, the famous Lodge itself. I don't think we're going to see it on the camera angles today. You can just about see it through the trees. Centre left of shot here as the leaders go up across the grid lines. You can see why they call it Deer Leap. Cars coming from a very low point on the circuit, climbing up and down into Old Hall Corner again. There's Malcolm McNab running well, car number 4. Malcolm, consistent top 10 runner, just had the one finish outside the top 10 so far. That was in the first race at Knockhill in May, 13th position for him. And Malcolm still a newcomer to the championship, as we mentioned, running 3rd in the championship. He's 40 or so points behind Ross Wylie, but got himself up the order today, so clearly a versatile driver, adapting well here to racing at Oulton Park, as is Kenny Brewster, who's out front, and the Sleigh boys are going to start to gang up on him very soon. This is the Shell Oils hairpin. David Sleigh runs a little bit wide. Tim thinks about having a look. Kenny McLeod still there in 4th place. Looks like he's shaken off Ross Wylie at the moment, so that looks like good news. In fact, can we see Ross Wylie anywhere? I don't think we can, so whether Ross has had a mechanical problem or got off remains to be seen, but Kenny McLeod in a pretty comfortable 4th place at the moment over Hilltop. He can now focus very much on trying to close down on the lead trio, and if they're battling hard, the chances are that they may well slow each other up, and that could give Kenny McLeod the break that he looks for to maybe get a podium position. But out of Knickerbrook, up Clay Hill they go once again. This race timed out 15 minutes worth of racing for the drivers today on the race meeting organised by the British Racing and Sports Car Club. And on board with Tim Sleigh, still back in 3rd position, brother David in front of him, coming under the Paul Warwick Bridge. Now, is he going to look at maybe pulling over to the inside? David Sleigh getting slightly defensive, and it is defensive. He's not in a position to attack at the moment, but Tim Sleigh's found the gap down the inside, or has he? No, he hasn't quite got the momentum to go through into 2nd position, but David Sleigh goes wide off on the grass. It's a sleigh ride on the grass. That shows you, I told you it was slippery, and look how much momentum he's lost. Tim Sleigh up into 2nd position, championship leader David Sleigh down into 3rd place. Kenny McLeod is still there in 4th. Steve Clark's climbing up the order as well. Steve trying to get back onto, he's going to be leading newcomer now, Steve Clark. It's Clark leading the newcomers from Malcolm McNab. So Ross Wylie is out of the race, hasn't come through on the lap chart. We'll see if we can spot him on circuit at some point during the race, but significantly a retirement in the first race of any meeting is a real downer, because you have to start at the back of the grid as a retiree for the next race, because the grid for race 2 based largely on the finishing positions, although we have the traditional reverse grid race with a number of the drivers from the top positions. This one will switch positions, so we'll wait and see who draws, which position draws the pole for this one, as we continue to look at Chris Reed and Guy Johnston really hard at it. Chris Reed in white looks down the inside line, Malcolm McNab teed up behind them, and through on the inside goes the 29 car of Chris Reed, definitely on for his best position. He broke into the top 10 in round 4 of the championship, and at the moment he's well inside the top 10, so a good performance. There go the lead 3. 4th position is Kenny McLeod, 5th in green is Stephen Clark. So this is the battle for 6th place, which at the moment is with Chris Reed, by far his best result of the season. Mind you, he's got to stay there yet, hasn't he? Guy Johnston is down behind him, the grey car, and then Malcolm McNab in car number 4. So plenty of dicing going all the way down the order. You can see how difficult it's going to be to overtake, because we've got dry lines materialising all the way around the circuit. Very tricky, as you will have heard Steve Clark saying, under the trees on the sort of last quarter of the circuit, approximately where they are now, and it's going to take a little bit longer to dry out there. So Tim Sleigh now going for the race lead, but Kenny McLeod, who's had a little bit of breathing space over the last couple of laps, has now got his mirrors full of Sleigh Jr. as they go on to the last lap. So it's Kenny Brewster who leads, but Tim Sleigh's down the inside. Tim Sleigh takes the lead at Oulton, and off wide goes Kenny Brewster. The only mistake we've seen from him, a little bit too wide, and now David Sleigh's coming up to play again. So from the Sleighs being 2nd and 3rd, they're now 1st and 2nd, and look at that scrap for 4th place. Steve Clark all over the back of Kenny McLeod. We'll keep an eye for the 2 cars coming into shot. There they are. Kenny's still there at the moment in 4th position, but it's a 3-way battle for the lead, and Tim Sleigh that is leading this one. Tim Sleigh with 2 race wins. He won round 1 and round 2 of the year. David Sleigh with 3 race wins so far this year, but it looks like Tim Sleigh's going to do the honours here out of the Shell Oils hairpin for the last time. Don't write off Kenny McLeod yet. Sorry, don't write off, well, not Kenny McLeod, Kenny Brewster in 3rd position as they go down to the chicane for the last time. It is Tim Sleigh in front, David 2nd, so it's 2nd place in the championship, leading the reigning champion David Sleigh in 2nd place, Kenny Brewster in 3rd place. We've still got this battle on for 4th. It's a job to know where to point the cameras, but you have to respect the race leaders. It's still Kenny McLeod running in 4th place behind them, and Tim Sleigh makes a mistake, or does he, going into it? Yes, he does, and David Sleigh's going to come through. David Sleigh's on the tarmac, and he's got the lead back. David Sleigh back into the race lead. Poleman Tim Sleigh, after fighting from 3rd place, is down to 2nd. Kenny Brewster in 3rd place, and it's all about the climb up Clay Hill through Druids and then under the Paul Warwick Bridge. We'll see that shortly. Here they come into Druids. David Sleigh, the race leader, looking for his 4th win of the 2012 season. Well, incredible stuff here. This is going to be David Sleigh's 11th career win if he can hang on. But Tim Sleigh's coming up round the outside line. He'll probably tuck back in and look at the inside as they go down to Deer Leap. Down in the bottom of the dip they go. Up the other side. From here, it would be very unusual to see David Sleigh lose it. And here they come. The checkered flag's ready. And David Sleigh, but Tim Sleigh's having a go. David Sleigh just takes it from his brother Tim. Great third position for Kenny Brewster. And up into 4th place on the last lap. Steve Clark wins the newcomers. Kenny McLeod relegated to 5th on the last lap. But a terrific result for Ken. Joint best result for him of the season. Same team for Malcolm McNab. Best of the season for Chris Reed and Guy Johnston. There's Hamish Brandon running in 12th place. 13th is Steve Kerr. And Fiona Wallace wins the Ladies' Cup. There's Fiona, the second of the cars coming through shot. That's the equal best position of the season for her in 14th. So Fiona wins the ladies' result. Still running second in the ladies is Elaine Marshall, with Emma Bruce third in that class at the moment. Murray Muir in car number 10 has crossed the line as well. Scott McKenzie, Mikey Falconer, John Finlayson, Alex Bruce, all across the line. There is Elaine Marshall coming home in 20th position ahead of William Smith. So we'll take a moment to recount the positions from round 7 of the Celtic Speed Scottish Mini Cooper Cup. David Sleigh winning that one, fastest lap 2 from Tim Sleigh. Brewster in 3rd, Clark, McLeod 5th, McNab in 6th place. Then it was Chris Reed and Guy Johnston. Steve Brewster in 9th from Kyle Reid, Alan Walk and Hamish Brandon in 12th. 13th Steve Kerr, Ladies' Cup winner Fiona Wallace from Murray Muir. Then Scott McKenzie and Mikey Falconer. John Finlayson in 18th place. 19th goes to Alex Bruce from Elaine Marshall, 2nd in the ladies. Then William Smith 21st, Danny Dreelan, Emma Bruce 23rd, Graham Henderson in 24th place, followed by Steph McMurdo in 25th. Non-finishers, Ross Wylie and Lewis Grant.
David, 100th of a second.
Excellent, honestly, that was just fantastic. Love that start to finish there, eh? Got a great start off the line there, managed to get away in the front there, but there was a corner there, Druids, you may know it as kind of one that's under the trees there, and it's kind of notoriously pretty ungrippy through there, especially in these kind of conditions. Was losing a car and a half length there on each lap, and just give these guys the chance to kind of close in on me and take the position away. Knew it was still quite early on the race, and it was just a case of really just getting yourself held in there and getting the opportunity to try and jump and do it. Fantastic race, loved every minute of it.
Tim, almost,
yeah. I think that's it in a nutshell there. I mean, from pole position, sitting on the sort of line there, it's off the racing lines. You're sitting on the grid, so I was sitting on the wet stuff. The boys, like my brother, were sort of sitting on the dry stuff. I just sat there, just making noises with the engine, pretty much spinning the wheels up. They just drove past me. Managed to sort of piece it back together. I mean, I was down to 3rd, back up to 2nd, down to 3rd, back up to 2nd, leading again, back down, back up. It was all over the place. I mean, fantastic race, great race, really, really sort of thrilling. Between me, my brother and Kenny Brewster, it was just like such an epic battle, clean battle, just taking it to each other, but giving each other enough respect and room, which is what it's all about, pretty much.
Kenny, 3rd place, that's going to be good for you?
Good and bad, yeah. The race went pretty well. We started on probably a wetter setup than maybe the guys in front of us that ended up in front of us did, but it started off well. Both laps coming through Druids, the car was just mega, and it allowed me to get alongside David and Tim on lap 1 and 2, which was great. And we kind of pulled a bit of a gap, but nothing too drastic. But just towards the end of the race, they just started bringing in, and made a mistake coming into Druids on the second last lap, which put Tim on my tail into Lodge, and he put a really good move on me in the first corner, which meant I ran a bit wide. Very last lap, and David got past me as well, so we'll settle with 3rd, but it would be nice to have done a bit better.
First time at Oulton Park in the Mini Championship. Just give us your impression of the circuit.
Phenomenal, wonderful, very new to minis and very different to Knock Hill, so it's quite a challenge, and the minis seem to be quite well suited around here as well. Really enjoyed it today. Yesterday, bit of rain today, which made it really slidey in the back of the car trying to step out, so kept all in one piece, got 6.
Want to keep up with all the racing action at the track? Well, download the new GoRacingTV iPhone and Android app. And remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Now, I know you're involved in various things, including the Chaz charity, and we've got a bit of an event coming up in a couple of weeks, haven't we? Tell us about that.
Yes, we ran a very successful event last year, the Children's Hospice Association Scotland, or the Chaz Grand Prix, where we take bereaved parents and siblings from the hospice around in passenger seats of the Mini. But rather than just do actual one-on-one laps, we actually line up 20 cars, passenger seats, lights go out, we go racing, checkered flag, 3 wide. It was an awful lot of fun, and all the drivers who participated said it was one of the races of the season. So 16th and 17th of June at Knockhill during the Motor Fair event, we're going to be running the same thing. There'll be 20 minis on Saturday and 20 minutes on Sunday, all doing the charity event. And just some wonderful racing, some great activity, some great action. And if you can come along to it, you'll see some 4, 5, 6 wide cars. And we're doing it in reverse direction at Knockhill for the first time, so it's going to add to the excitement features.
Malcolm, race 2 coming up, and you're on pole again.
Yeah, it's history repeating itself. We raced here in 2010, finished 6th in race 1, went off in the pole for race 2. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And how did that race go?
That would be the one that was ended after the first corner, so not the series' finest hour.
Oh yes, I remember that one. So we're hoping for a better race this time.
Yeah, hopefully. It's a great track, and it's really good fun racing down here. So we want to get a full race in, and obviously looking for a good result.
That's our pole position sitter for race 2, Malcolm McNab, and no pressure there, Malcolm. There he is, pole. Kenny McLeod alongside, then Steve Clark and Ken Brewster on row 2. The Sleigh boys on row 3 of the grid. Back to row 4, Chris Reed and Guy Johnston. Then Steve Brewster and Kyle Reid. Alan Walk and Hamish Brandon on row 6. 7th row see Stevie Kerr with Fiona Wallace next to him. Then Murray Muir and Scott McKenzie. Mikey Falconer 17th. John Finlayson for company for him. And then on to row 10. Alex Bruce and Elaine Marshall. They're followed by William Smith and Danny Dreelan. Emma Bruce and Graham Henderson completing our top 24 rows. Then it's Steph McMurdo and Ross Wylie. Lewis Grant starting in 27th position. Everybody nearly ready, so Oulton, familiar territory for the championship as a whole, but new territory for many of the drivers. Let's see how they go. Malcolm McNab then in the orange car with the blue trim at the front. On the other side of the front row, it's Kenny McLeod in the black and gold Chaz GP Adventures machine. Row number 2, Steve Clark in green. Steve Brewster, you can see in the white car with the yellow flashes. The top, just about see the Saltar on top of the roof. Extreme right, away they go then, lights out, and another 15 minutes of Celtic Speed Scottish Mini Cooper Cup action away. And into the race lead, it's Malcolm McNab that leads, but coming up into second place, Steve Clark. No, it's Sleigh. David Sleigh from 6th on the grid. What a rocket of a start from the championship leader, and really starting as he means to go on here with 1 win under his belt again. I'll tell you what, you've got to be brave to bet against him here, probably as his teammate is out front as well. So it's Team Sleigh Racing's Malcolm McNab who is out front at the moment. David Sleigh's going to have a look to the outside line here. It's the inside as they come through Cascades, but the outside as they go up to Shell Oils. Hamish Brandon engaged in battle with Steve Brewster in yellow. The white number 12 car there is Steve Kerr, who had 13th place in race number 1, so good result for Steve Kerr. Only his second meeting of the season, missed out on the second round of the championship. There is Hamish Brandon having a good look at Steve Brewster and into the chicane. You can see by the time they get around, this is around about halfway through the first lap, and they've pretty much sorted themselves out line astern. And at the moment it's Malcolm McNab leading from his teammate David Sleigh. Tim Sleigh with a little bit of work to do. You can see coming under pressure from Ken Brewster. Hamish Brandon in the Panda car. He's had a couple of pole positions in the reverse grid race, and if you're wondering how that works, they do a draw on the podium of race 1 to select which position's going to get pole position. A couple of cars off. They make a superb sight, these cars, when you get to watch, particularly from the start-finish line, to see 26 cars in this race, 27 entered for the weekend. To see them all going around, absolutely awesome sight. It's motor racing exactly as it should be, cost-effective motor racing, and plenty of cars because the race formula is exactly right. So this is great news for Malcolm McNab, who leads. David Sleigh in the Athena Management car second. Kenny McLeod in third place. So we're going to see Ken get on the podium here. He's got a lot of people that support him. Race car, as we said in round 2, is known as Kylie. We're not going to get our Kylie moment this weekend, I don't think. But anyway, down they go, down the avenue, and David Sleigh starting to put a bit of pressure on Malcolm McNab, the race leader. Again, looking for another best result is Malcolm, getting better and better in terms of those results. 9th, 7th, 8th in round 1, 13th, 9th in round 2. So a pretty consistent top 10 man. 6th position in our first race of the day. David Sleigh is through with ease, I've got to say. So David Sleigh through into the race lead. David with fastest lap in race 1 at 2 minutes 7.933. Slightly quicker conditions out here now. It's a little bit drier, so we'll see whether McNab can hang on to third place. Tim Sleigh in 4th. Ken Brewster in 5th position at the moment, followed by Chris Reed in the white car, and then it's Steve Clark, who again hasn't had the best of the starts by the look of it, maybe taking over the mantle of Vic Covey in terms of starts. I'm sure Vic will forgive me for saying that, but by his own admission wasn't the best starter in the minis, but a very consistent racer, as you mentioned, with 23 career wins in this formula, plus a championship to boot. There's Kyle Reid in the number 20 car, the white car with the green trim, being chased by Steve Clark, who's trying to make up that position at the moment as they go up Clay Hill into Druids. So David Sleigh getting away, challenge on for third place. Tim Sleigh through to third place as he goes out a shot on the inside of Kenny McLeod. So Kenny down a position here. He's going to be a little bit disappointed about that. Ken Brewster coming up as well. I think Kenny McLeod's giving people plenty of room, actually. Good respectful racing as they go through. Then Kyle Reid in car number 20. Now, when did Kyle finish in race number 1? Down in 10th position. So it looks like Kyle Reid is having a much better race in this one. Learnt the circuit, possibly a bit happier with the dry track in race 2, but having learnt the track, maybe adjusted some settings between race 1 and 2. Now, Kenny McLeod, having said that he maybe left the door open a little bit, he's coming back at Ken Brewster there, the black and gold car chasing the yellow-white with the Saltire on the roof for third position. Race leader David Sleigh is still away with it. Malcolm McNab really hanging in there for second place, got to say. Race leader then David Sleigh. Malcolm McNab in second place, up over the little brow hill. You see the cut-off point just to the going off to the left there. That's the shorter island circuit. And there's a third configuration which we use at Oulton Park, which is the Foster's track, which comes down effectively into Knickerbrook, where you see the Hislop chicane a little bit later on. Not the first chicane they're about to come into after Ireland, but the second chicane. So 3 different configurations here. We're on the longest circuit, 2.69 miles. And into the later part of the day, circuit trying out. This is the first one, the first chicane. So not always dues here at the MSV circuit. If you've not been to Oulton Park, it's well worth making the effort. The circuit run by Jonathan Palmer, former Grand Prix driver who owns many circuits in the UK, and customer service a big part of Jonathan Palmer's focus. So if you come camping or just come for the day out, you'll be greeted with a clean circuit. It's a wonderful place to come, and as indeed of course is Knockhill, where we usually race, but don't be afraid to have an away day to an MSV circuit for sure. So this is the view from the third place man. Tim Sleigh still there, climbing up up Clay Hill, under the footbridge, and the footbridge incidentally tells you can watch the racing from the inside or the outside of the circuit. So if you come for the day, you can actually wander around the whole circuit inside and out and watch races from different vantage points. There's nowhere really you can see the whole track, so probably the best place is the inside of Cascades and the Avenue. It's probably the best place to see the most circuit. And this is the view from Tim Sleigh going into Lodge Corner, chasing after his brother David out front, but he goes off wide. And that was definitely a mistake from Tim Sleigh. If he wants to get up on terms with the race leader, he's going to have to do a little bit better than that. It's scrubbed off a bit of speed, and Ken Brewster's coming up to have a go at them. Kenny McLeod down behind them. Then Chris Reed. Steve Clark having a look down the inside line in car number 9. So Steve Clark still leading the Newcomers Championship. Chris Reed goes wide, makes a mistake, and that's going to open up the door for Steve Clark, who goes down the inside. Good manoeuvre from Steve, capitalised on that mistake. Chris Reed will be a little bit cross with himself. Down to 9th position at the moment, but still David Sleigh leading from Malcolm McNab in 2nd place. Then Tim Sleigh. That mistake really has put the pressure on, because Ken Brewster is right behind him now. So Kenny Brewster in 4th place. Then it's Kenny McLeod. Steve Clark running well, and really very much on the pace. He's David Sleigh lapping in the 2.7s. The top drivers all in the 2.7s at the moment, and Steve Clark sector times on the timing screen telling us that he could be on a little bit of a hot lap here. So we're expecting this one to last for 7 laps once again. Down from Hilltop they come. David Sleigh still comfortable. 2nd position Malcolm McNab. Tim in 3rd, and then getting a little bit of a move on now. In 3rd position is Ken Brewster. Kenny McLeod following in black and gold. The green car down behind them still is Steve Clark, who qualified in 5th position. So up Clay Hill they go once again. Sleigh looking for his 12th career win and his 5th win of the season if he can bag it. It was win and fastest lap. First time he's done that actually this year, in the first race here. And I think the first driver to take win and fastest lap all year in the championship. It's been that competitive. And in fact, looking at the fastest lap scored over the course of the race season so far, David only got his first fastest lap in the 3rd race in the May meeting at Knock Hill. So we actually had 6 different fastest lap setters in the 6 first races of the season, and Sleigh the first one to post 2. Fastest lap with 4th place in round 6 of the championship. And a new fastest lap here. Steve Clark gets the fastest lap. Now keep your eyes open for the right of shot. There's Steve Clark in green.
The club, an amateur racer. Here at GoRacingTV, we salute you. And we want to give you all the tools and info to compete with the best. Find out how to do it all from your own garage by watching our Club Racer and Autocrosser shows. GoRacingTV.com, supplying all your video racing needs.
So conditions perhaps improving out here on circuit. We look back and see Chris Reed going through. Hamish Brandon at the moment challenging Guy Johnston. Down behind them in 15, it's Ross Wylie. Ross Wylie up into the top dozen, and he's looking down the inside line. Hamish Brandon having a go there at Guy Johnston, but Ross Wylie from the back of the field after a non-finish in race 1. The car is back on song, and Ross Wylie looking for a top 10 here. It could be possible for Ross Wylie. This is a really good drive from the youngster. Came into the Scottish Mini Cooper Cup from karting, and you've got to say, along with Stephen Clark, one of the real finds of the season. 2nd in the Rookie Championship at the moment, 4th coming into this event. As we go back now and up into 2nd place, Tim Sleigh back through into 2nd place, past Malcolm McNab. Through come the chasers. This is the 3-way battle we've got at the moment on for, I think, 11th position. Hamish Brandon is chasing. No, Chris Reed's in 9th. Hamish Brandon in 10th position. Malcolm McNab coming under pressure from Kenny McLeod. So the Grand Prix Adventures car looking up the inside line here. But look at that, Steve Clark's coming through as well. 3 wide in the Celtic Speed Scottish Mini Cooper Cup across the line. And what brilliant driving by Steve Clark. Passes 2 cars for the price of 1. And he's past Malcolm McNab, he's past Kenny McLeod, who goes wide. And, well, this is all positions changing. It's the Sleigh boys out front still. Have we got a change for lead position as well? No, we haven't. David Sleigh is still there in front. Tim Sleigh in 2nd position. Ken Brewster in 3rd place. Malcolm McNab got hung out to dry a little bit, but he's still running in 5th position. Down behind Steve Clark in green. So that's the 2nd place car number 3, Tim Sleigh. So it's Team Sleigh Racing first and second. Third position is Kenny Brewster, looking for another podium. Looking for his third podium of the year. Just one retirement, only completed in 2 of the 3 rounds so far this year. I think we mentioned that in race number 1. So out of Shell Oils, you can see a fairly extensive loop. That's the island circuit. They don't use the chicane, this particular chicane, on the island circuit here, which I'm pretty sure is what we raced on in 2010. But David Sleigh, not the fastest man on the circuit, but he's doing enough to keep the gap between himself and his brother in second place. There's Tim Sleigh second. Third place still Ken Brewster, trying to put the pressure on the second position man, and then a gap back to Steve Clark in third, who in theory should be able to close up on these. Now you see a slightly different line out of Knickerbrook there for Ken Brewster, and he's looking at the outside. He'll possibly switch over to the inside to come to it. Still going for the outside line here. So optimum through Druids, and then a further climb up, down the dip under the Warwick Bridge, and up towards Lodge Corner where our cameras are now. So it's Sleigh, Brewster, Clark, and then McNab. Cracking racing here again. The guys, of course, looking forward, as we said, to the away day at Croft, supporting the touring cars again on home turf at Knockhill later on in the season. But on to lap 7, the last lap of the race, goes David Sleigh. Surely, well, we've seen mistakes on the last lap before. It's David Sleigh leading from Tim Sleigh. Kenny Brewster in third place. Steve Clark looking a fairly safe 4th position at the moment. Malcolm McNab on for a best ever 2012 result of 5th position for him. So the newcomers getting better and better in the Celtic Speed Scottish Mini Cooper Cup. Down behind them it's Stephen Brewster in the yellow number 19 car, then Kyle Reid. Kenny McLeod's dropped away just a little bit, but the battle for second position continues, and Tim Sleigh, is he going to get defensive here from Kenneth Brewster as they go up into Shell Oils for the last time? Brewster thinks about having a look down the inside, but Sleigh's pretty much got it covered at the moment. Coming up to join them though is Steve Clark. He was 3 or 4 lengths back, so Steve Clark really getting the crack on at the moment. Clark there back at the moment in 4th place, perhaps getting a whiff in his nostrils of a potential podium position. Bouncing over the curb is Tim Sleigh. Slightly tidier there, I've got to say, was Ken Brewster. Up over Hilltop, Malcolm McNab, well, he held second position for a long time, and he's had a great race in 5th. Steve Brewster is down behind him. Then it's Kyle Reid and Kenny McLeod, but the battle for second into Hislops for the last time. Coming under pressure is Tim Sleigh, but he's hanging on to it. But now Ken Brewster's got his mirrors full of Steve Clark. Fastest man on the track, Steve Clark. Now what can he do here? The race newcomer up against far more experienced drivers here in the Celtic Speed Scottish Mini Cooper Cup. David Sleigh leads it, and Steve Clark, is he going to be able to follow Tim Sleigh through on the inside line? It's a challenge on the outside for Steve Brewster in car number 7. It doesn't work for him. He's going to look on the inside line again. Steve Clark goes to the outside line. Up towards Lodge Corner, David Sleigh leads into the final corner. Surely he is safe and home with this one. Tim Sleigh still and up into 3rd place. Has gone. Steve Clark through into 3rd position. Clark's into 3rd. Malcolm McNab's coming up to play as well and looking for 4th. Whatever happens, it's going to be a best result for him. Checkered flag for David Sleigh. Tim Sleigh in 2nd. Stephen Clark from Kenny Brewster. Malcolm McNab, Kyle Reid, Kenny McLeod across the line now in black and gold. Following Kenny, it's Chris Reid, then Hamish Brandon. Ross Wylie with his lights on comes home for 11th from the back of the grid. Then it's Guy Johnston. Here comes Alan Walk in the number 14 car. Down behind Alan, it's Fiona Wallace, who's going to win the Ladies' Cup, and they're in white and yellow. Very close at the end of the day is Elaine Marshall, Mikey Falconer in between them. Scott McKenzie is next up. But I can tell you that all 26 cars finished the race driving standards absolutely top-notch once again. David Sleigh then takes the race win. Tim Sleigh in 2nd, Steve Clark 3rd and fastest lap from Ken Brewster. Malcolm McNab in 5th place, and then Steve Brewster in 6th. Kyle Reid from Kenny McLeod, Chris Reid 9th, Hamish Brandon, Ross Wylie and Guy Johnston. 13th Alan Walk from ladies winner Fiona Wallace. Mikey Falconer, Elaine Marshall gets the ladies fastest lap. Following her, Scott McKenzie and Murray Muir. Then Steve Kerr and Danny Dreelan. Emma Bruce from William Smith, Alex Bruce and John Finlayson. The results completed by Steph McMurdo and Graham Henderson. Double win this weekend for David Sleigh means that he extends his lead at the top of the table from his brother Tim. Steve Clark in 3rd place, then Steve Brewster and Kyle Reid in 5th, Ross Wylie rounding out the top 6. In the newcomers, no surprises, Steve Clark still top, Ross Wylie 2nd from Malcolm McNab, great weekend for him, Chris Reid, Scott McKenzie and Lewis Grant 4th, 5th and 6th respectively. And in the Ladies' Cup, Elaine Marshall still leads from Fiona Wallace, then Emma Bruce in 3rd, Steph McMurdo 4th and Louise Flitton in 5th.
Really good from the start anyway, you know, got off to a brilliant start from 6th place there. Managed to get past Kenny Bruce that was on my left hand side, past him, wedged him beside in past Kenny McLeod. First corner, exit out of there in 2nd place from 6th, like delighted. Managed to just take the next few, about a lap and a half there, managed to catch up on Malcolm McNab, one of my teammates, through Cascade. Just got the run of him there and managed to pull over the left hand side. He gave me a bit of space and I managed to get through and take the 4th gearer flat out round the left hander. And from there on in, I just managed to kind of maintain that gap. Although Malcolm was pretty quick as well, like he was kind of cadging in me a bit there and dropping back a bit. Then I think these guys came up behind him and that just slowed them down considerably.
Tim, another exciting mini race.
Yeah, fantastic race. Starting 5th on the grid alongside my brother. I got a really good start, actually got a good sort of jump. Stephen Clark was sitting in front of me, just sort of pinched me off, stopped me from going down the inside of them. Had to sort of flick round. I got in between sort of Kenny McLeod and Stephen Clark. The two of them sort of closed over in front of me, so I had to lift out of it, follow them round. So my brother driving right round the outside of everybody. I thought, that's where I want to be, you know. So yeah, it was really good. Had a sort of bit of a tough battle, making a few sort of moves coming through the pack. Came up the inside of Stephen Clark through the banked hairpin there at the island bend. Yeah, had a great race, you know. Kenny Brewster was giving me certainly not letting me have it easy, but it was great, fantastic. Managed to finish 2nd, so it's good for points.
Stephen, fastest lap and the narrowest of margins for 3rd place.
Yeah, it was tight there. I got a really bad start, and like in the first race, I went from way back down to 8th or 7th or something. So I had my work cut out, and I managed to be on the pace, and I managed to get past those cars that overtook me on the first lap. So and then I came in on the last lap. Had caught Kenny Brewster and Tim there, and they were squabbling away, and just managed to pip Kenny down the back straight there before Lodge, and to get the fastest lap is it's really good, because I've never been down here before. I've never been away from Knockhill, so after testing yesterday, to get the fastest lap's really satisfying. So I'm really chuffed for that.